Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. We've been doing quite a lot of what we want to see in 2022, as well as previously recapping on 2021. But this is a kind of a finale, really, of those type of videos. We're going to be talking about 5 big fights that we want to see in 2022 and talking about how likely they are to happen as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through 5, and we're going to, at the end of them, we're going to give ourselves, me and Ben are going to give a percentage each on how likely we think it is to happen. So I'm going to start us off with the first one. And I think that has to be the most obvious one for me, personally. Errol Spence Jr. versus Crawford. I mean, already we're seeing Usyk obviously getting his opportunity. But we want to see, it's not really the fight we want to see at that weight. We obviously want to see Terence Crawford against Errol Spence Jr., and I think with some inactivity of both of them, really. I mean, I really feel that if it comes later in the year, that might not be a bad thing. Give them a chance to both get in the ring. Obviously, you have a couple of fights, and then hopefully we shall see this fight happen. Ben, I'm sure it's one you want to see as well. How likely would you say this one is to happen? And if you had to put a percent on it,
it's a hard one, isn't it? Because I think there's nothing stopping them now. At the end of the year, like you said, a fight at the end of the year, there's nothing stopping them. But there's just, I think it's 50%. I'm only 50% confident we'll see this fight at the end of the year.
It feels a bit like Pacquiao Mayweather back in the day, doesn't it? Like one you expect to see for years and years, and just keeps ticking over. I'm going to go more ambitious. I'm going to say 80%. And guys, in the comments, let us know. List all 5 fights and drop your percentages as well as we go. In the comments as well. Be interesting to see what you guys think.
It should be
another one, but we've got to talk about in the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. It's obviously a fight we all want to see. A lot has to happen, though, doesn't it, for this one to go forward, Ben?
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to the build-up to that fight, in the sense of it might not be AJ Fury, it could be Usyk Fury, it could even be Dillian White Usyk. I just think there's 2 big fights in the heavyweight division to happen in the first half of the year. Then it should free it up so all the belts are on the line at the end of the year. And me personally, I'm not fussy. I'll take any of those 4 fights in each other. I think whoever it is entertaining. I think we'll see Tyson Fury in that fight. But I'm still yet to decide whether AJ can get redemption or not.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously on our last video, I've already predicted that AJ won't get redemption. I think Usyk will maintain it.
Sticking to it.
Look, in 2022, do I see this one happening? I've got to be honest. Even if AJ loses, I still wouldn't fully write it out because of the payday it would have behind it. But I'm going to go for a very small 20%. I've got to be honest.
I must admit, I'm up at the 80s for this one. I think 80% sure we're going to see at the end of the year. It's a big money fight. And if Eddie Hearn can get a fighter in it, he'll make it happen. But it's one of those, I think, with Usyk, no matter what his path is, once this heavyweight stuff's sorted for him, and if Canelo can get a belt at cruiserweight, I think Usyk Canelo is one hell of a fight.
Let's talk about that fight, because obviously
2 separate worlds.
It is, and I think we're going to see Canelo step up to obviously the cruiserweight division. It's going to be interesting to see what he does there. Obviously, he's picked the smallest cruiserweight champ that he could out the lot, but you can't blame him for that, can you, really? With the size difference, regardless, it's going to be an absolute spectacle if he does win. Could he fight Usyk, or is it just one of those that's just going to be a bit too much of a difference?
I think it's one of those. I think cruiserweight, it's a big jump. The weight classes he's gone from, for me, it's the most impressive. Like, you have these multi-weight champions. If he does get a belt at cruiserweight and becomes a 5-weight world champion, those weight classes, it's just unbelievable. But I'm not sure whether I rate Canelo's pound number 1. We all know this, but Usyk, he's one hell of a boxer, isn't he? And it's his natural weight. It's not like he's fighting at a meeting at a catch weight. That's Usyk's weight. He's a great boxer. He's a good size for the weight. And I do wonder if it'll be a step too far for Canelo, because I don't think he'd stop him. So can you outbox Usyk at cruiserweight's the question.
Yeah, I think that is the question. And obviously going into 2022, I've got to be honest, I don't see this one happening in 2022, but I feel it is one that could happen in the future. But if Usyk did lose his heavyweight title, then maybe it would be a natural step down. And I don't think there's going to be a rematch clause. There's to see a trilogy between AJ and Usyk. So how motivated would Usyk be to stay in that heavyweight division? Maybe just see a chance at Canelo, and that would be a fight everyone would be dying to see. It could happen. I'm going to go low. I'm going to be like 10%.
Yeah, it's not happening this year.
No.
But I think let's see where their paths take them at the end of this year. But I think it's a fight they'll both be up for because it's a legacy fight, that is. So I think they'll both be up for it.
It's going to be probably the most likely to happen. In fact, I'm pretty much putting it 100%. We obviously both want to see. Yeah, I think everyone wants to see it, and what a spectacle it will be for women's boxing. Probably the biggest women's boxing fight that we've seen in the history of the sport, really. Taylor versus Serrano. I think this is going to be an amazing fight to see, and I think this one will definitely happen. I think it could even happen in the first half of the year if we're lucky, and who knows, we might even see 2 fights, even a trilogy, maybe not all in 2022. But I think when it comes to women's boxing, this is going to probably be one of the biggest, if not the biggest fight of all time in the women's division. And it's fair to say it's definitely going to sell out an arena on its own, isn't it?
Well, the talk's Madison Square Gardens, isn't it, is where they're saying it's going to be. But you are right. This is a 2-fight deal, I'd imagine. And it's going to be a war. And I agree with you, 100% sure we will see that fight this year. And it's a shame we talked about this fight without Josh, because we all know he's a front runner for wanting to see this fight.
Yeah.
And I just think 2022 will be the biggest year in women's boxing, because that's, like you said, could be the biggest fight of all time. But we could have another fight which people will be building up as the second biggest, if not also the biggest fight of all time, which I'm guessing we're going to go on to next, which is Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall.
Yeah, definitely. Again, I think, look, I don't think it's on the same level as Serrano versus Taylor. Firstly, what would you say, Serrano, Taylor? I said 100%.
I said 100 as well. I do think 100%.
But this in its own right is another massive women's fight. Could it even be on the one of the undercards if you're selling out Madison Square Garden? Is that underdoing it a little bit?
I think are we still on about Taylor?
Sorry, we've moved on now.
We moved on. No, Sky, the Marshall Shields fight, Sky are pushing it. That's why they're saying that Marshall and Shields will both be fighting on the Chris Eubank undercard. Little warm-up fight, and I imagine after their fights, they'll announce, right, it's happening. It's a big deal for Sky. And what's good is that the Taylor-Serrano fight, that's just about 2 trailblazers in women's boxing, isn't it? But this is a bit more personal. Shields has got 1 loss in amateur boxing, and it was to Marshall. And there's that dispute about how Shields reckoned in sparring once she made a fool of Marshall. Marshall was like, what's she talking about? And I think the build-up to that fight will be interesting. And I think that it's a good fight. I think it could steal the show from Taylor Serrano. I honestly do.
And again, I think it's one that's definitely going to happen. Maybe 90%.
I agree. I think 100% on that.
Yeah.
You know what?
Definitely. Well, I mean, look, that is our 5 guys. Have we missed out anything obvious?
That's 4. We've got 1 left.
We're going to throw in a 6th, are we?
No, this is the 5th. Haney Cambosas.
Well, we've already done 5, but let's throw that one in as well.
No, yeah, I just think that's one fight again. 100% sure that's going to happen. And I think it'll be Sydney, and I think it'll be a big fight. So just thought we'd get that one in there. Unification
as well. Let's throw that in. We've covered 6 in the end. Let us know if we did miss any. If we have missed any after doing 6, God, we deserve the abuse. But yeah, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.
Cheers.